Hello, everyone. This fishing report took place on 3 September 2025. That's a Wednesday, and where I decided to go fishing was the Surfside Beach area. I wanted to fish the jetty, continue my bank fishing from the rocks video. So I didn't have much luck over in Galveston along the seawall. So I decided to come out here. This is usually the better bet to be able to catch some nice fish, but yeah, as fate would have it, the jetty didn't provide much of anything as well. I don't know if it's just because of all the rains. Who knows? It could just possibly be it just wasn't a good day overall. I mean, if we could explain these things, then we'd all be professional fishermen. But yeah, so Jetty Park, Surfside Jetty Park. The address to get over here is going to be, let's see, where is it? 101 Parkview Road, Surfside Beach, Texas, 77541. And that's going to bring you over here to the jetty. This is a quick look at what it's like. This is the first portion. It's nice and paved, some very slippery rocks right down here. And that pavement goes to about, here, let's try to zoom in. You can see that it's paved, and then right there it kind of ends. So we'll zoom out. Probably 2/3 the way out on the jetty. I did start off by fishing right over here in the surf zone. I did see some wade fishermen out here trying their hand in the surf. That's my Achilles heel. I mentioned that in the video. And I just wish that I knew what I was doing by surf fishing. And I guess I'll never know until I actually start doing it enough and learn the inner workings of how to effectively do it and be able to catch fish successfully. But yeah, I started right over here with a top water. It's a white one. I don't think I'm going to use it anymore. Main reason is because it just, I don't know, it doesn't have a really nice action. I like that it was designed for the salt, but the action that it gives, I get better performance from the Hedden brand, the Super Spook Junior. Those ones just seem to walk better. It's a plain, looks like a cigar, and no detail or anything like that. Just a nice bone color or a black color, and they seem to get the job done and always have great action. So that's probably what I'm going to be using from now on. But anyhow, I had this one. It was free and decided to use it. And managed to get 2 hookups. One of them spit the hook. The very first one spit the hook on me. It had quite a bit of weight on it, but during the head shakes, as I was getting it towards the rocks, the fella was able to spit the hook, and it shot back at me. The lure did. So untangled my mess, cast right back out again, and after a few more casts, I was able to hook into another speckled trout. This guy had to have been 13 inches or so. So brought him in, showed it to the camera, released it, and continued casting. There was a lot of blow-ups taking place, but I'm not too sure what they were. Possibly a school of undersized trout that just couldn't get the lure all the way in their mouth, or they were just short biting it. Not too sure, but after what seemed like 30 to 40 minutes that I had spent over here casting and then slowly moving along casting, I would cast out. I would cast at an angle, fan cast the entire area. Say if I was parked right here, I would just cast all this area and then move along, do the same thing. And then at those areas, I did try to cast parallel to the rocks because that's usually the strike zone where the structure is. And if you can walk the dog parallel to them rocks, usually you'll have better luck. At least I do have amazing luck in the marsh whenever I cast parallel and work the structure line, like if that's going to be grass or the mud line, the bank line, or the oyster bars. That's where I have the bulk of my luck. So I apply the same concept out here, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The fish have to be there first and foremost, but I did not get any bites whatsoever after a few, or not a few hours, but after an hour or so. So eventually you see me walking, starting to cruise down the jetty itself, and as soon as I passed the buoy, which by the way, the conditions that we experienced for the day, the temperature was 78.3 degrees. The water temp was 87.4 degrees. Water level was 2.72 feet. The winds were 5.25 knots from the north-northwest. The tide was high. It was outgoing. And at first, we didn't have any movement whatsoever as the morning started. But then as time went by, we had some decent movement towards the end of the jetty whenever I finally made it there. Because we didn't have water movement in the morning time, there was a lot of debris, grass, and like just small little remnants of like some type of seaweed out here. And it stuck around for a little while until the water started moving, and then it kind of cleared this side over here. But I passed the weather buoy and decided to fish over here because I was seeing like very few blow-ups. Well, I'm not going to say a blow-up. It was the mullet. They were all swimming close to the rocks, and usually that means big fish are pushing them in to take shelter from the rocks itself, and then they would scatter. So not sure if they saw something, and then they would scatter. They weren't actually jumping out of the water, but you could see them scattering, and just prompted me to want to make a few casts. So after doing that and walking the rocks for several yards or so, I decided to stop fishing that and continue on down the rocks. Met quite a few people, all the locals that fish out here. So I talked to them asking, how they had done for the morning, and it was the same as my results. Not much being caught. They had live shrimp, live finger mullet that they were cast netting alongside the rocks, and they were using the jetty cork to fish, I'd imagine, anywhere from 8 to 14 feet down below the surface over in these areas. And only a few Spanish mackerel were being caught. So knowing that, I eventually decided to switch over to a spoon. It was the jigging spoon, being that it's a little bit deeper. I would cast out, let it go to the bottom. I did get hit several times on the pink like epoxy jig style spoon, and no hookups or anything like that, just a bunch of good bites. So I decided to switch over from that spoon to a gold spoon. When I was over here towards the end of the jetty, I had seen people catching. They were few and far between for the Spanish mackerel, but they were catching. So came over here and tied on the gold spoon that had a wire leader and just cast all the way around. I wasn't lucky enough to get a hookup, but I did get around 3 bites. And at one point in time, I decided to take the actual wire off of my spoon and just tie straight monofilament leader line at 20 pounds. And with doing that, that's when I got the 3 hits. So the wire leader definitely has a lot to do with the lack of bites that I was getting. So, I mean, I use the wire leader just to not lose my spoons to the Spanish mackerel whenever they're in the area, because their teeth are sharp. And when they hit, sometimes if you get a bigger one, he'll just like hit the whole entire spoon. And when his teeth comes down and closes, it hits your leader line, and that would have been a sure loss. But I guess that's why you got to reel it in super fast, so that when they do bite, they're only going to hit the hardware itself and hopefully get the business end, which is the hook. But so just let that be a little food for thought. If you're not getting hit and you're using a wire leader, just possibly go straight leader line. And if you beef up, around 40-pound test, maybe you'll get lucky enough and they won't completely slice through your leader line. But the gold spoon didn't get it done for me, so time was passing by, and it had been several hours and no hookups whatsoever. So I just decided to put on a crocodile spoon, the 1 ouncer. One guy had already caught a jack crevalle over here towards the end of the jetty, and I was fishing somewhere over here, and he was like waved me over and said the fish are biting, or the jacks are biting. And so everybody was hooking up, but quite a few of them, I think there was only 1, 2, 3 that were landed. So out of all the hookups that we had seen, everybody was just getting busted off. We weren't expecting jacks at all. At least I know I wasn't. this late in the season, but it just goes to show that they will hang around as long as the water is nice and green. The winds did die towards the latter part of the morning, and it just made it very hot. But the water was actually nice and green, really clean stuff. And so knowing that they were hooking into jacks, 3 of them landed, I decided to put on the crocodile spoon. They didn't want the gold color, that's for sure. So put the crocodile spoon on, 1 ounce, cast it out. And again, just still using my same setup, which is a 7-foot 2-inch long medium light power suppressor rod from Old 18 Outfitters. And I had it paired to my 4000 series spinning reel. I've got it spooled with 37-pound braid from Veravas, and then I was using the 20-pound mono leader line from Veravas. And my connecting knot is a uni to uni, 4 twists on the monofilament side, and then 7 twists on the braid side. I do more twists on the braid just to kind of beef up the knot size itself to match that of the mono. And I've been using that connecting knot for years, and as long as your drag is set, your line isn't going to snap. So that's what I was using, cast out. And on my second cast, I just swung for the fences. I let the lure, I leave my bail open and just let the line go off of the spool freely so that my lure can fall straight down. Because if you cast out and then you close your bail immediately, no line is going to go out and your spoon is going to start to pendulum downwards but back towards the jetty, bringing you closer to the rocks. So whenever you cast out and you leave your bail open, your spoon can fall somewhat freely straight down. It will still have a pendulum action, but not as much as if you close the bail. So hopefully that makes sense. It took about a 12 1000 count for that 1 ounce spoon to get towards the bottom. And as soon as it hit, I bring in my slack and then I'll give it a pop to move it off the bottom. The hope is that when you cast out there and there's fish in the area, they will see that thing like flutter going down to the bottom. That looks like a mullet that's dying and just sinking down. And then whenever you pop it, it's like, oh, that mullet's still alive and it's injured. And so they come over, check it out. If they don't hit it, just keep doing the same thing and then start to retrieve it, making it look like it's a mullet that's injured. It has life. It's swimming off. And at that point in time, that's whenever a Jack Crevalle bit it. This fella, oh my gosh. Y'all, I took a look at all the footage, and it ended up being a 19-minute fight on the setup that I just mentioned. And this Jack, as soon as he hit, he started swimming this direction, going out. And I mean, he took some line. As you see in the video, that fella just took a lot of fish in line. I kept my cool though, because using 37-pound braid on a 4000 series spinning reel, this one's a saltwater version, so it's a Shimano Stella. I normally don't talk about
that's all good.
my reels just because they are very expensive.
Appreciate it.
And I just try to give y'all the, like, I guess
I
the
think so, bro.
meat and potatoes of what it is, and that's a 4000 series. I leave it up to y'all to purchase whatever gear suits your fishing style. And as long as you know the series, then it gives you an idea of how big the fishing reel is. But this 4000 series from Shimano, it's a saltwater version, so it means it's sealed. It can take a beating if it does get splashed. It's not, the internals are going to stay perfect. The gears, the drag, everything's going to stay perfect on this reel. It's an investment that I make because this is my full-time job. But what I'm getting at is, it being a saltwater version, it's going to pack on some fish in line. You can put the hefty stuff on it, but I'd rather go for being able to make long casts. So when doing that, if you're using heavier braid or thicker braid, which is in all actuality, it's usually going to be heavier. So the thicker stuff is usually heavier. It's also sporting like more test pound for the brake line. So yeah, I go with the lighter stuff. The thinner diameter, it means more casting distance, and the braid that I choose to use is it's premium stuff from Japan. And I knew that I had around 300 meters. I said 300 yards in the video, but I meant meters of fishing line. So that's 3 football fields. There's no way that this fish is going to be able to take that much drag. I mean, he would have to be a lot bigger in order to spool me. So I kept my cool, and the fella just completely went all the way around the jetty point. Over here, I opened up my bail to just let him have some more line to get away from those rocks. And then as soon as I felt he was far enough away to be able to clear it, closed my bail again, and then just continued holding on. And it wasn't until I get over here that I was able to start winching him in. He stopped the drag runs at around this point over here, swam this way, comes into the channel, and after the 19-minute fight and just a lot of winching, we were able to bring the guy in right over here. One of the locals, Roman, was able to land him safely for me. And once he brought him up and I started showing him off to the camera, oh my gosh, I realized just how lucky I was. The drag was set perfectly to not be able to rip the fish's skin on his jaw. I barely had him hooking, and as I was hoisting him up to try to give a better look towards the camera, the spoon fell out of his mouth. That's how lucky I was. So we kept tension the entire time, just kept our cool, let the drag do its job, trusted in my gear, trusted in my knots, and just very lucky to have been able to catch this fish and end the video on a high note. Because as soon as I was done with that guy, 19 minutes of sheer joy and terror at the same time, my arms were toast. So what a great day. Lots of hookups on jacks, and yeah, we just got lucky with the green water being there. So hopefully if you go out to the jetty this time of year and you don't want to be near Galveston with all the poo-poo water, possibly being in the area in the bay system, then yeah, just come out here. Usually the better bite is always going to happen towards the end of the jetty, so just keep that in mind. All right, hope you enjoyed this one and you can use it to the best of your benefit on an upcoming trip. Until next time, tight lines, everyone.